we are at extreme low levels of housing stock available for rent. Across the country, 1% vacancy rates. It's 3 times less than what was generally considered a equilibrium in rental markets of 3% vacancy rates. Nationally, we are at 1% vacancy rates. Many of the areas that we are focusing on are at a fraction of 1% in vacancy rates. So as interest rates are increasing, it's even putting more pressure back onto the rental market, and there are simply no homes to be rented. There are no homes being built because of the building industry, because of supplies, because of cost, because of builders. So there's just no homes that are coming in to release this valve of pressure that's building up. So when I'm looking at this, we've gone through a tremendous upswing in price, and it's definitely not unprecedented. When I bought my first property down here in Hobart, I had 45% capital growth in the first year alone, okay? It didn't have a correction. It just didn't move for the next 8 or 10 years after that, okay? It stabilised. There's no indications that there potentially is going to be a pullback. And with the pressure on rentals, with the unprecedented pressure on the rental price, we are seeing rents going through the roof. I did a video today that's going to be on our YouTube channel at the end of this week on the Gold Coast. We are seeing rents in the Gold Coast going up $10, $15 every single week. Bing, 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 bing. So all of this momentum from those unsophisticated investors and unsophisticated first home buyers, they're moving and putting that pressure on the rental market. There's just no properties to rent. Rents are going through the roof. Guess what that's doing? Prices may have stabilised for the moment, or they are still going up in many of our capital cities, by the way. So those rental prices are going up. Yields are increasing. Guess what that brings back into the market? Investors. Investors come back in chasing yield, because if their money's in the bank, that's devaluing because of inflation. The stock market's not really doing anything. Where are they going to get a return on their money? So very quickly, investors come straight back into the property market and chase those yields that only take a month or two to recover. So I would argue, even with a nationwide upswing in prices, there are always these markets where you have extreme rental pressure. You have a flaw in the market. They are affordable in nature, that it is a blip in the radar. The local demand and the micro factors are just so compelling. You've got waitresses, and I was up in Queensland recently. You had a waitress I overheard in the restaurant. She said she's been looking for a property. She's basically homeless. She has a good paying job. She goes to open homes, and she's at the end of a very long queue. This is not going anywhere soon. Okay? When you can isolate the variables and you can target in on these microeconomies, the macro stuff does not relevant. Interest rates going up on a $400,000 dwelling when no one can rent a property. Well, guess what? The extreme rental pressure translates back over onto the buy side very quickly. We control those variables as investors. And even so, if you are worried about a correction, if you are worried about uncertainty, I was talking to Christian upstairs the other day, and he said, look, you can go out and fix in a loan at the moment, interest only, 4.5% for the next 2 or 3 years. Okay? That's cash flow positive. A lot of the properties we are looking at and buying with clients, even at that 4.5% interest only, that's still cash flow positive territory at an 80% LVR, 90% LVR. Okay? It's putting money in your pocket each week. Okay, so this was the research that we did for the Gold Coast. So this is the state of the rental market across the whole local government area of the Gold Coast. We have been hovering around 0.5 of 1% vacancy rates for the last 12 months. This is at emergency low levels. People cannot find homes. They're lining up at open homes. They're potentially even living in their car. Okay? These are people with jobs, with really good jobs, very good rental histories, who cannot rent properties. Right? So extremely low vacancy rates, and this is only going to get worse as interest rates rise. Rents in the Gold Coast have gone from $680 a week to $800 a week in 12 months. Okay, so what's that in terms of percentage? For those of you that are better at maths, it's almost 20%, isn't it? 120, 17.6% rental growth in the last 12 months. This is not an isolated phenomenon. Okay, you've had the whole of Brisbane as a city increase the rents by 20% over the last 12 months. Will it continue? Okay, will it continue? With this type of vacancy rate, it's not going anywhere. It's not slowing down anytime soon. Okay, remember, the average equilibrium in a rental market over long term in Australia is 3%. This is at emergency low levels. We would expect rents to continue climbing. Okay, you can see it's going up sharply. We would expect it to continue climbing. Yields, in particular, are recovering in this market back up towards 5%. We were buying in the Gold Coast 2 years ago when rents in the markets we were looking at were over 5%. The moment that rents continue to climb up towards 5%, investors are going to be back into this market in droves. We are, as a company, are going to be back into this market as droves, and we're sophisticated investors, let alone the unsophisticated investors. Okay, so we see this continuing. Whilst we don't have new home construction, the pipeline is going to take many years to fill out. They can start building homes today at previously high levels, and it will still take 2 to 3 years of shortages before we even get close to an equilibrium, if not longer. They will have to build at record levels to catch up, and that's just not going to be happening. They can't train these people. The building costs have put a lot of builders out of business. The industry is in shambles. There's no way out for these vacancy rates to recover.